Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller forecast for Taurus for March 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see the many blogs that I've posted since last time you were there. While you're there, you can see if there are still slots available in my astrology apprenticeship program, where I can help you learn how to do astrology professionally, or just to learn for yourself and your own self-development. So what's going on in the month of March? We still have crazy eclipse news coming in for many people. You may have noticed from the end of January, all of February, there was a lot going on with trajectory changes for people in your life. Maybe you are one of the people who are experiencing those big changes. You can see more about how the eclipses are affecting you and why in my February report. But I wanted to mention them here because the 4 to 6 weeks after the eclipses, which is all March and even into April, is still high time for news to keep coming in. So we have that going on. We have a connection with Jupiter and Uranus and another one with Jupiter and Pluto that is both second chapters of themes that started at the end of last year occurring in March. We've got that going on. I call it Clash of the Titans. We also have the astrological new year. Yay, I love the energy of new year. I never really feel the energy of new year too strongly in January. But when all those planets start to move into Aries, then I really feel that effervescence. So you'll notice that is coming up. And then the kickoff party for the astrological new year is the new moon in Aries, which is March 27th, which is the best day of the year besides your birthday, for making a vision board, planting seeds for the next year for yourself and what you want to create. People are usually very surprised to see that vision boards they've found that they created in the past, that they have those exact things in their lives now. So you can check that out. That's March 27th. So what's going on in the month of March specifically for Taurus? We are going to go into much more detail about these general transits that I alluded to, but I want to spend time first with some things specific for Taurus. So Venus retrograde is occurring March 4th through April 15th. So this 6 to 7 week transit that occurs with Venus every 18 or so months has a much wider effect than those 6 to 7 weeks, because there's an extensive pre-shadow period and there's an extensive post-transit shadow period. So it's about a 4-month story. That's why you've been hearing me talk about Venus retrograde. That's why I've gone crazy with putting together resources to help you understand and navigate and maximize this transit, because Venus is one planet, but Venus rules so many things in life. So Venus's influence is very extensive. It rules love and relationships of any kind, every kind. It rules money and finances. It rules beauty and fashion and aesthetics, art, etc. So we have Venus retrograding for Taurus, early degree and middle degree placements in the 12th house. So basically the early degree placements will experience this transit in the 12th house. The middle degree placements, depending on where you're at, you'll experience all or part in the 12th house and the rest in the 11th house. But somewhere kind of 12th and 11th for middle, usually depending on where you're in there. And then the late degree placements, you're going to have the retrograde in the 11th house. So to figure out whether you're an early, middle, or late degree placement, just take the days that the sun is in Taurus, divide it by 3. It's there for 30 days. So the first 10 days of the sign are the early degree placements, and that's also 0 to 9 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. Then the middle degree placements, 10 to 19 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign, or the second 10 days of the birthday. And then the last 10 days of the birthday are the late degree, and that's 20 to 29 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. Okay, so when Venus goes retrograde, things involving love, beauty, and money go backwards, go introspective. When this relates to the 12th house, which rules the deep subconscious mind, psychotherapy, meditation, dream time, mental addictions and afflictions, and issues and strengths, connection to intuition, and things that happen in secret or the backdrop, there are many secret things involving money and love that are in the backdrop and that are likely to come out. Certain things that are secrets are not going to stay secrets through this retrograde transit. So if you are hiding something, there's a chance it will come out. If someone else is hiding something, there's a chance that it will come out. If you have an intuition that someone is not being upfront with you, you have to take those hunches very seriously at this time. I think in general, if you have a hunch about something, you need to look into it. But this energy of being in the backdrop is just so prominent at this time. And one of the things that Spirit really wants you to do is to develop your intuition, you know? Many times someone who finds out information about a financial interaction or a love relationship will have had dreams about the thing happening before it happens. Now, this is complicated because our subconscious mind alerts us when we have a pattern within us that is continuing and will likely manifest in a similar outcome. So sometimes we have a dream and then it happens, but sometimes that's because the subconscious mind is warning us, hey, you have to straighten this out inside of yourself so that it doesn't keep happening outside of yourself, you know? So this is a very tricky area that I highly recommend having the use of someone doing work professionally or very, very deep study about this, because when you're talking about your subconscious mind, it's not in your awareness, you know? So people doing their own deep consciousness work, and I am notorious for this because I do a massive amount of self-development work on my own. I walk other people through it. But there are just some things that you can't get at because it's so deeply hidden to yourself that you can't access it. So if you have dreams about patterns of things, people betraying you, people lying, it's possible that it is actually right on, that your dream time is telling you, hey, you can't trust this person, and your emotions about the person are interfering with your intuition. It could be telling you that, hey, this person is a decent enough person, but if you don't fix that thing within you or integrate that thing within you, then it's going to perpetuate again. So your dream time can alert you to patterns that you have that are not resolved, especially when they're recurring situations. Okay, so past life regression is an amazing tool for this transit. Working to clear fear so you can more easily access clear intuitive insights. Trusting hunches. Doing digging, praying, and meditating around suspicions. Asking the universe for guidance and clarity about how to learn the truth about things that you suspect are being held from you. These are not the only ways that this energy can show up, though. Someone could be working in the backdrop on your behalf. Your love or a romantic interest, or someone that has financial clout could be working in the backdrop for you. So, you know, it's not just about betrayal and secrets and things coming up that, or patterns or fears or things like that. Somebody could be working for you, for your benefit behind the scenes, spreading your name in a positive way, doing groundwork that will help you when the energy moves over the cusp from the 12th house to the first house. This energy in the 12th house is very quiet, very behind the scenes, very much laying groundwork, so that when the energies move over into the first house, that's the bursting forth, you know? So this is that time where there's things going on in the backdrop, and maybe there are things for you to do, and maybe some things are being done for you. If you have an intuition about contacting someone from the past, it's probably a pretty good idea. There's a very strong chance that people from the past could work in ways to help you. So, early and middle degree placements will experience that energy. The middle degree placements and the late degree placements will also experience the 11th house retrograde. So when this happens, what we're looking at is Venus as it relates to Aquarian and 11th house things. So friends, social groups, acquaintances, social connections, social media, large organizations, teams, humanitarian efforts, communities, community-based projects, internet-related things, or other technology or innovative things or inventions, things like that. So some questions that may actually, just come up naturally during this time, or questions that you can ask proactively. What are you looking for from your social connections? This reevaluation of your social interactions, or a returning to an old way of being with your social interactions, or a trying things on with your social interactions is very common at this time. Are your social groups serving the person that you have evolved into? Or is it time to consider getting into some new things? The retrograde is not necessarily the time to cut things off, burn bridges, and make decisive endings or beginnings per se, but it is a time to ask the questions and to evaluate these things. Are you maximizing your social connections, your internet-based dealings and devices to serve your mission? Are your efforts benefiting the greater good? They might have more support if they are. Do you have ideas that could make money and help people at the same time? Does your relationship with technology need to be reevaluated? Are you addicted to social media? Is there a way that you can work with this, like I said, without shutting any doors? You know, many people just get fed up with certain social media scenes and they just get ready to close the door completely, and it's not necessarily the best thing to do, because so many blessings can come to you with love or with money or with recognition from connections to the past, and social groups often will hold these connections to the past, so you don't really want to just step completely out of it. You just want to question what you're doing with them. You know, are you wasting time, or are you using them to hinder you, or are you using them to serve you? Are they supporting your highest vision or going against it, or both? And how can you make that relationship more functional? So my affirmation for you is, I create a balanced and fulfilling relationship with technology. And the affirmation that I didn't tell you for the 12th house is, I create a balanced and fulfilling relationship with intuition and spirit. You know, so it's basically about creating a meaningful interaction with spirit for the 12th house. And for the 11th house, it's creating a balanced and fulfilling relationship with technology. So you can see these affirmations in a pretty version on my Instagram account. So you can have those to help you out. So these are the things that are specific for Taurus. And now I want to talk about these heavy hitters, these clashes of the titans, these opportunities that we have to summon your inner badass, which is the theme of the general transits, which I'll talk about now. So I'm calling the theme of the month for the general transit, so this is relevant for all signs, summon your inner badass. And what I imagine when I'm seeing the energies of March all coming together is a hero that is walking through a scene that we're observing, and there are difficulties coming at them, and they're standing tall and strong and confident and moving through and being triumphant at the end of the challenges. Every month brings challenges and opportunities and sweet spots. I see challenges always as opportunities. So a month that has more challenges in some ways can be a month full of more opportunities. You know, we have started to ask wrong questions in our lives, I think, or questions that cause us to experience life in a disempowered way. When we ask questions, what's going to happen in the stars that's going to stress me out, or tell me what's going to happen, these are disempowered questions. The questions we want to be asking astrology and in general is, help me understand what's going on here so that I can maximize the potentials for my highest expression. And that's what I focus on. So I want to help you ask different questions, and that's part of summoning your inner badass, because the more empowered questions you ask, the more of an empowered life you will live. So we've got multiple important aspects going on this month, and I'm going to go through them and how I think that we can most use them. There are also some lesser aspects that you definitely will feel, sweet days, challenging days, etc., a longer list of those that you can get when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. You'll get my monthly write-up, which includes a written version of the things that I touch on in the horoscope for the general transits, and it also includes more things that I don't have time to talk about. So if you have signed up for my email newsletter and you're not receiving it, it could be in your spam or social or events folders, because I do send them out every month. Okay, so the first aspect of the month is March 2nd, and this is Jupiter in Libra opposing Uranus in Aries, and this is happening at 20 degrees. So if you have planets near the 20 degrees, you're probably you're going to be affected more than, you know, these aspects without them, but globally everyone will still be experiencing this. So that expression, things come in threes, is astrological, and that's because often things that we're experiencing come from aspects in the sky, and these ones that are big long-term themes, they usually involve what I call the titans, the outer planets. You know, it's like a sumo match between these planets that just carry a massive amount of power and a massive amount of potential. So when you have Jupiter, an outer planet, and Uranus, an outer planet, coming together in what could be considered a challenging aspect called an opposition, they're trying to find balance. You know, an opposition is two opposing forces. They're antagonistic, but they can also become synergistic. So the more you can transcend whatever the issue is, the more those planets will work in synastry. So Jupiter wants to expand, and Uranus wants to innovate. Libra is the planet of the sign of we, and Aries is the sign of me. So we've got a me-we aspect of a theme trying to get things worked out that started at the end of December. And this is in March 2nd, it's the second pass. And then on September 27th, we have the final part of the story. These are like chapters in a story that are ongoing. So it's some sort of breaking free from constraints in relationships. And that's basically the theme. So we might perceive someone as limiting us, or someone might be perceiving us as limiting them. And maybe that is true. But what's probably more true is that we have limitations within us as far as how we can experience relationship, and we project that limitation on all of our relationships because it's coming from the inside. So you have an opportunity here to break free from your pattern within yourself, so you can stop enslaving your partner to play a certain role, and you can stop being attractive to those circumstances that are unfulfilling for you. So that's very exciting. So then on March 4th, we have Venus going retrograde. We've been talking about this for a while because the shadow period started at the end of January. And this transit only happens once every 18 months, and there's a lot that goes along with it. So definitely check out my Venus retrograde do's and don'ts blog and video. I'm also writing some other extensive Venus retrograde blogs that you can look for on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. And the basic gist of Venus retrograde is that Venus, we call Venus the triple goddess because she rules love, beauty, and money. So beauty also includes aesthetics in your environment, art, design, fashion, appearance, things like that. So she's going backwards. And when she goes backwards, it's a time to reconsider everything about love, beauty, and money. It's a time to go back to old ideas, old things that worked, old clients. Many people will revisit previous relationships. People who are staying in the same relationship will revisit topics that came up in the past, for better and worse. Venus retrograde is not just a time where unresolved conflicts can come up, although that is definitely a theme. Anything swept under the rug in love, beauty, or money will come back up to be looked at. But it's also a time where lots of magic can return to those areas of life. You can find money. You can have love return to a relationship where it had left. You can find some riches with your self-esteem development, which is another important topic for this retrograde. So we've got that going on from March 4th through April 15th. And it's going to be retrograde from 13 degrees of Aries back to 26 degrees of Pisces. So in the, we talked about where the Venus retrograde is taking place in the house for your sign. For all signs, we will experience Venus retrograde in Aries, which is similar to the first house, or is the same as the first house retrograde, and 26 degrees of Pisces, which is the same as the 12th house retrograde. So depending on where your placements were for your sign, you might be having the same themes come up, or you might be having some additional themes come up. But the general story of Venus in Aries has to do with self-esteem. It's talking about appearance, fashion, how you put yourself out into the world. Pisces has to do with hidden places. So this is a place where this hidden money can come to you, money that you didn't know that you had, or that you hid from yourself, or that was in the backdrop somehow. It's just stuff from the past involving love, beauty, and money. That's the basic gist of Venus retrograde. So then on March 12th, we have a full moon at 22 degrees of Virgo. And full moons, the best way to manage full moons, I think, is to leave some space around them, because full moons are a time when our emotions just run just to sort of shake off. You know, everything that we've been accumulating for the month coming to fullness is just a time to shake it off, like a dog shakes off water, you know? So often there's something dramatic or there's something really cool going on that you want to be present for, you know? So I usually keep a little space around the full moons for whenever these manifestations come up, because the best way to deal with them is to be present with them. So Virgo rules health, your daily work, it rules pets. So it's possible that something involving those things could come to your attention or need attention or come up as a focus at this time. The full moon is also making quite a lot of aspects, opposing Mercury and Chiron, trining Pluto and squaring Saturn. So we've got a lot of power at this full moon, I think, to overcome the energy of woundedness. And this is going to be a theme this month because of aspects with Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid that is called the Wounded Healer. And the idea of the Wounded Healer, or my understanding of the Wounded Healer, and as I've observed it through countless charts, is that it's a place of weakness. That deep place where if someone gets at that, then you don't know what comes out. It gets ugly, you know? It's a very wounded place or a very weak place for you. So the idea of Chiron, the highest vibration, is that you strengthen, you focus your attention on that weakness or that vulnerability, and it becomes a strength. So that's the transcendent version. So like in the instance of the energy in Virgo, Virgo rules health. Maybe some people have health weaknesses. Maybe they have to work harder to attain health. And when that happens, they might wind up being healthier and staving off other health issues because they had a weakness that made them focus on their health. And if they didn't have that meticulous focus, then they could have created other problems maybe, or maybe they wind up teaching or helping people from it, or improving the lives of others because of what they've had to go through. So this is just an example of how you can take any woundedness that comes up this month or ever and convert it into something positive and powerful and supportive. So on March 20th, we have the beginning of the astrological new year. I never feel like the new year is starting on January 1st, especially when it's in the midst of a retrograde like it was this year and some other years. So March is when the planets start to move into Aries, and the planet of Aries, or the sign of Aries, is the baby of the zodiac. It's that bursting forth, that energy of spring, something new beginnings. So you'll see as the planets are moving into this sign, people get impulsive, they get excited, they get wild, they want to do stuff, they feel active. And this is the energy of New Year. So on March 27th, we have the new moon in Aries, and I always consider the new moon in Aries to be like the kickoff party for the new year. It's like the new year starts around March 20th, and then when the new moon in Aries comes, it's like, yay, okay, it's a new year, let's have a party. That's like New Year's Eve, So this new moon in Aries, all the new moons in Aries, so the one new moon that we have in Aries a year, is the best time of the whole year besides your birthday to do vision boards or other seed planting for your future, things that you want in that upcoming year. So definitely take full advantage of that. This new moon also carries a lot of power. It's conjunct Chiron and Venus. It's a square Saturn, and it's coinciding with a Mars in Taurus and Neptune sextile, which is a 60-degree angle. It's a positive angle. So there's, again, a lot of power behind this moon phase. On March 30th, we have our last big aspect of the month, which is the second Jupiter square with Pluto. Similar to how we've been talking about this Jupiter opposition with Libra, how it happened once last year, so did this Jupiter and Pluto aspect. And this one's happening at 19 degrees. On November 24th of last year, this Jupiter and Pluto first pass happened. Now on March 30th, the second pass happens, and then on August 4th, the last pass will happen. So we've got these 3 chapters of this ongoing story. And one of the main themes, I think, of this ongoing story has to do with ambitions, rising ambitions, and the idea of competition and what we have to do or what we're willing to do or what we think we have to do to succeed. In a third dimensional reality, there is competition. There's focus on competition. And there are all of the energies that go along with competition. It's kind of gross, It can be very, very low vibe and not conducive to conscious evolution to focus too much on the energy of competition. My suggestion, I invite you to use this energy to transcend competition and tune in to divine timing and your divine path and purpose. So if you're out there doing what you're supposed to be doing and you feel like Spirit is guiding you and you're on track and you're speaking your truth or doing your truth, then it doesn't really matter what anyone else is doing. You will attract to you the people and the customers that will be perfect for you. And so really there's no competition on the spiritual plane. And this is an affirmation from Florence Scovel Shinn, who is one of my all-time favorite teachers. She's not in form anymore that I know of. And she wasn't even when she came to me. She had passed a long time ago. So she was teaching about, she was actually teaching about Jesus's work as a metaphysician, teaching about transcending mundane reality while still in form, like bringing heaven onto earth in our experience. And that is an affirmation I got from her. So there's no competition on the spiritual plane. So if you are conducting yourself in a way that is high vibrational, if you are doing everything that is in sync with your beliefs and your values, then you can transcend this energy. So you just check in with yourself and see how this is true for you, and just look out for it, because these themes are sometimes very subtle. Sometimes they come more into the forefront, but overall they're very subtle sometimes. So these are the main things that I am seeing for the month for the general transits. So you have plenty of opportunities to summon your inner badass. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Check out my blogs. I have blogs on all different kinds of topics, not just astrology. If you want to learn astrology with me, then I might still have some slots available in my astrology apprenticeship program. If you want to bring your business online, check out my Creating Successful Online Business course. And if you would like to be a coach as your profession, then you can check out my coach certification course. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.